Hello students. In this video lecturing, we will be discussing about bandwidth utilization, in which we will discuss multiplexing and spread spectrum. Okay, bandwidth utilization is the wise use of available bandwidth to achieve specific goals. That is, how wisely we can make use of the available bandwidth without wasting the resources. Efficiency can be achieved by multiplexing, that is, nothing but sharing of the bandwidth between multiple users. For example, say if you have two devices shared with the certain available bandwidth, but if the bandwidth need of these two devices is greater than the available bandwidth, then that can be shared, right? This is called bandwidth utilization. That is, you're sharing the bandwidth. Okay, now multiplexing. What is multiplexing? Multiplexing is a set of techniques that allows the simultaneous transmission of multiple signals across a single data signals. That is, it combines multiple signals to a single data link. Okay, there are we in this lecturing we will be discussing about these following topics, that is frequency division multiplexing, wavelength division multiplexing, followed by synchronous time division multiplexing, statistical time division multiplexing. Okay, dividing a link into channels. For multiplexing, we use multiplexers, that is mux at one side. At the other side, we use demultiplexer as shown in the figure. Then the data path called link, which is the physical path. The diagram shows n input lines there, okay, which is multiplexed into one data link, and at the receiver side you have a demultiplexer which routes each data stream into separate output lines there. The link is divided into channels, that is, the channels are nothing but a portion of a link. Next is the categories of multiplexing. Multiplexing can be divided into three categories, that is frequency division multiplexing, wavelength division multiplexing, and time division multiplexing. In this frequency division multiplexing and wavelength division multiplexing, both are analog. It uses analog signal approach, whereas time division multiplexing is digital. Okay, next is frequency division multiplexing. In frequency division multiplexing, signals generated by each sending device modulate different carrier frequencies as shown in the diagram. This frequency division multiplexing, it is an analog technique, and it has some guard bits to prevent signals from overlapping. We will see about this guard bands in the next slide when we discuss the problems. Okay, in frequency division multiplexing, similar signals modulates different carrier frequencies. From the diagram, you can see that the data link is divided into channels. This channels is according to the frequency. So we have input lines as shown in the diagram, and we have channels, channel 1, channel 2, channel 3. Multiplexer will divide the channels into F1, F2, F3, and demultiplexer identifies these combined frequencies, that is the channels are with respect to this frequencies. Frequency division multiplexing is an analog multiplexing technique that combines analog signals, and it uses the concept of modulation. Now we will see how we can use the concept of modulation in this FDM, that is frequency division multiplexing. Okay, this figure shows the FDM process where you can see 3 baseband analog signals, followed by you have 3 modulators. Okay, and each of this modulator has different carrier frequencies, that is F1, F2, F3. This modulator combines the carrier frequency with the baseband analog signal to form a modulated signal. You can see 3 modulated signals out of the modulator there. Okay, these 3 modulated signals are then combined or multiplexed into a single signal, and it is sent through the data link. You can see the output, that is a single signal in this figure. Okay, that is sent through the transmission link now. Okay, now here is an example of a FM station where bandwidth is divided into different channels with the different carrier frequencies. Each frequency channel is 200 kilohertz, and in between you can see a gap with no station. This is called your guard bands. Okay, it is used to prevent overlapping of the signals. Now we will see what is FDM demultiplexing, how demultiplexing is done in frequency division multiplexing. Here in the figure, initially you have the data signal which is sent through the transmission link from the sender. This data signal, this is a combined data signal, is sent to the demultiplexer where you have filters. The filter will filter each of the modulated signal. Then the demodulator, what it will do is this demodulator will remove the carrier frequency from this modulated signal, that is carrier frequency 1, frequency 2, and frequency 3 is removed from each of this modulated signals, and then you have the resulting analog signals. Next, we will discuss a problem or example to understand this frequency division multiplexing more. Read the problem. Here it is. Assume that a voice channel occupies a bandwidth of 4 kilohertz. That means a voice channel occupies 4 kilohertz bandwidth. Okay. We need to combine 3 voice channels into a link with a bandwidth, that is you have to combine 3 voice channel. Each voice channel is 4 kilohertz, so it is 3 into 3. You need 4 into 3. You need 4 into 3 bandwidth, isn't it? Okay, see to the question. Bandwidth of 12 kilohertz from 20 to 32 kilohertz. That means the bandwidth given is F minimum is 20 and F max is 32 kilohertz. Show the configuration using the frequency domain. Assume there are no guard bands. Okay. Here you can, in this figure, you can see there are 3 voice channels with the 4 kilohertz bandwidth, 0 to 4, 0 to 4, 0 to 4. Okay, 3 signals you have. Okay, and you have the modulator which modulates the signal in the frequency that is bandwidth, that is 20 to 24. The first signal in 20 to 24, second one in 24 to 28, and 28 to 32 kilohertz, and then it was combined together there, that was multiplexing, and then it is sent through the high bandwidth link, where the bandwidth is occupied between 20 to 32 kilohertz. Okay, and it reaches the receiver, where you are going to filter and shift, that is band pass filter will filter the signals, that is it will separate the voice channels, that is 20 to 24, 24 to 28, 28 to 32, and you have in your output lines each of this analog signals, that is which occupies 4 kilohertz. Each output line has its data streams. Okay, one more example. Okay, in this example we will use the guard band. Now you will understand what is a guard band. Okay, there are 5 channels, each with the 100 kilohertz bandwidth. Okay, these are to be multiplexed together. That means there are 5 channels with 100 kilohertz, right? So 5 into 100 kilohertz bandwidth you need. What is the minimum bandwidth of the link if there is a need for a guard band of 10 kilohertz? Okay, the guard band is of 10 kilohertz. Okay, between the channels to prevent interference. That means between you have 5 channels, right? Okay, in between these 5 channels you have guard bands. So we will see to this figure to understand it more clearly. See here you have different colors which represents 5 channels. Okay, each of 100 kilohertz. Okay, as in between the first and the second channel you have a gap there, that is your guard band. Okay, now in the question it is given the guard band is of 10 kilohertz. So similar way you have 1 2 3 4 gaps where you have 4 guard bands, that means each of 10 kilohertz, plus this each channel is of 100 kilohertz, right? You have 5 channels, so 5 into 100 plus the guard bands, how many gaps you have, that is 4 gaps you have, so 4 into 10 kilohertz, that is 40. Now 500 plus 40 you will get 540 kilohertz. This is the required bandwidth. Okay, one more question we will discuss. 4 data channels, that is said it is given digital. Okay, each transmitting at 1 mbps. That means you have 4 channels and each of these channels is transmitting at 1 mbps. Okay, use a satellite channel of 1 megahertz. That means the transmission link is of 1 megahertz. Design an appropriate configuration using frequency division multiplexing. That means you have 4 channels and you have each channel has 1 mbps. This you have to send through the channel, that is you have to multiplex it into 1 megahertz link, that is transmission link. Okay, so see to this figure to understand the solution. That is 4 channels are given as 4 input lines here. Okay, now in the at the right side if you can see it, it is the transmission link is 1 megahertz. Okay, now when you have a 1 megahertz transmission link, this has to be divided by 4 to get the bandwidth for each of these channels, right? So 1 megahertz divided by 4 will give you 250 kilohertz. Now you have 250 kilohertz for each channel. Now each channel is 1 mbps. It sends 1 megabits per second. This has to be sent through 250 kilohertz. How to combine this, that is 1 megabits per second has to be sent through 250 kilohertz, isn't it? This 250 is 1/4 of this 1 megabits per second, isn't it? Okay, that means see, 1 hertz has to send 4 bits. How can you send 4 bits in 1 hertz? That is 1 hertz is, if I can say 1 hertz is a signal element, then that particular element has to occupy 4 data elements. Okay, for that we will use 16 quadrature amplitude modulator. Why 16 is because see, 16 is 2 raised to 4, right? Where 4 is your R from your previous session. Okay, R is equal to 4. That's why you are using 16 QAM. Using this 16 QAM, you can send 1 Mbps digital data through 250 kilohertz bandwidth. Okay, hope you understood. Next is analog hierarchy. Hierarchical systems used by telephone companies is made up of groups, subgroup, supergroups, master groups, and jumbo group. From the figure, you can see that there are 12 voice channels, each of 4 kilohertz. Each occupies 4 kilohertz, which is combined to form a group. This group is of 48 kilohertz, and which combines 12 voice channels. Again, you have 4 similar groups, that is 5 groups you are combining it into using FDM, frequency division multiplexing, to form the super group which uses 240 kilohertz bandwidth and which combines 60 voice channels together. Okay, again similar kind of 10 super groups you are taking and combining using FDM to form master group, which is of 2.52 megahertz and combines 600 voice channels. Again, you have 6 master groups which is combined to form a jumbo group which transmits 3600 voice channels at once. Okay, next type of multiplexing, that is your wavelength division multiplexing. Wavelength division multiplexing is an analog multiplexing technique to combine optical signals by using light. What is the basic characteristic of light? Do you know? Okay, or how do you say 0.4 to 0.7 is the physical range? What is 0.4 and 0.7 in this, by the way? Okay, that is nothing but 0.4 micrometer to 0.7 micrometer is the wavelength, and light passes through fiber optics. We have lambda 1, lambda 2, lambda 3 as shown in the diagram, which is combined, and we send these through the link. Okay, now to combine these wavelengths, we have something called prism. Okay, see to this diagram, prisms in wavelength division multiplexing and demultiplexing, how it is used. As suggested, to combine them, we use a prism which acts as a multiplexer, and at the receiver end we use another prism which acts as a demultiplexer. Fiber optic cable is the transmission link which we use. Okay, next is the third type of multiplexing, that is time division multiplexing. Here we divide the channel with respect to time. So a single channel passes various communications. Time division multiplexing is a digital multiplexing technique for combining several low rate channels into one high rate channels. Here you can see in the diagram the data flow, where you have 4 units each from 4 input lines. This 4 units each is the time slots. Okay. Next, there are 2 types of time division multiplexing. That is, one is synchronous time division multiplexing, and one more is statistical time division multiplexing. See to the diagram here, which shows the synchronous time division multiplexing. You have 3 input lines, A, B, C, and the data units A1, B1, C1, A2, B2, C2, and so on, and each data unit occupies a t time. That is, data are taken from each line every t seconds. Okay. Now these data units from the input lines is combined to form frames. That is, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. In frame 1 you have A1, B1, C1, which combines to form one frame. The second frame you have A2, B2, C2. Third frame you have A3, B3, C3. That's why it is called a synchronous time division multiplexing. And see to this frame 1, where A1 occupies the first slot, B1 occupies the second slot, and C1 occupies the third slot. So the frame is divided into 3 slots. That is, it depends on the number of input lines. According to the input lines, the frame is divided into slots. Okay. Now the time required for A1 is t by 3. That is, and read that each frame is 3 time slots. Okay, all together, that is C1, B1, A1 together is t. Each time slot duration is, that is, for each duration, that is A1 duration, if I say, it is t by 3 seconds, B1 duration is t by 3 seconds, and C1 duration is t by 3 seconds. Now let us discuss one example to understand this concept. Okay, in the given figure, the data rate for each one of the 3 input connection is 1 kbps. That means line A sends 1 kbps, B sends 1 kbps, C sends 1 kbps each. Okay. If 1 bit at a time is multiplexed, that is, a unit is 1 bit, that is, A1 is 1 unit and it occupies 1 bit, either 1 or 0. Okay. Similar way, B1 occupies 1 bit, C1 is 1 bit, A2 is 1 bit, B2 is 1 bit, like that. What is the duration of, that is, we have to find the duration of each input slot. That is, you should find what is t there. That is, A1 in the input line, A1 occupies t time slot, isn't it? What is the value of this t? It is nothing but 1 by 1 kbps. Understood? That is input rate, that is 1 kbps. 1 divided by 1 kbps will give you the time slot t. That is nothing but 1 divided 1 by 1 kbps is 1 milliseconds. See here, 1 milliseconds. Okay. Second thing is, each output slot, nothing but you have to find the, this one here in the frame. If you see at A1, you can see t by 3. This is the output slot, each output slot. Now what is each output slot? It is nothing but 1 by 3 milliseconds, t divided by 3, that is 1 by 3 milliseconds. Okay. And the third one, for each frame, what is the duration? See, each frame duration is equal to each input duration, isn't it? T is equal to t there, that is, frame 1 occupies t duration, so it is same, that is nothing but 1 milliseconds. Okay. Next, one more question. Figure shows synchronous time division multiplexing with the 4 1 mbps data stream inputs and 1 data stream for the output. The unit of data is 1 bit. Okay, that is each line sends 1 mbps and data unit is 1 bit. Okay, first one is we have to find the input bit duration. Input bit duration is nothing but how much it is, 1 divided by 1 mbps, isn't it? That is nothing but 1 microsecond. Okay, now second one is the output bit duration, nothing but, see here, the frame is divided into 4 slots, isn't it? 4 slots. So the output bit duration is t divided by 4, that is nothing but 1 microseconds divided by 4. Understood? That is 1 by 4 microseconds. Okay. Third question is the output bit rate. What is the output bit rate? Here we combine 4 input lines of 1 megabits per second. So it is 4 into 1 megabits per second, nothing but 4 mbps. Okay. The last question is the output frame rate. What is the output frame rate? I told you each frame rate is equal to the input rate, isn't it? So the output frame rate is nothing but 1 mega frames per second, because we are sending 4 bits in each frame. Okay. Inefficient use of bandwidth. See to this diagram where you have 4 input lines and it is represented by colors there, green, green, yellow, pink. These are, if I say these are bits, that is data unit, then, and the resulting frames are given there. The first three frames are given. See, in the first frame, the first slot is occupied by green, second slot is empty because the second line doesn't have a data unit, so it is left empty. Third one is occupied by yellow and fourth one is pink. Again, in the second frame, the first slot is occupied, but the second and third slot is free, and the fourth slot is occupied. What you can infer from this figure is that some bandwidth is wasted here, isn't it? Okay, so what can you do to utilize this bandwidth here? For that, what you can do is the advanced synchronous time division multiplexing, that is statistical time division multiplexing you can use, where see, in the first case where it shows the synchronous time division multiplexing, that is a frame is divided into the number of slots, that is how many number of input lines are there, that many slots you are giving. But in statistical time division, what you're doing is the number of slots in the frame is always less than the number of input lines. See here, the number of input lines is 3, 4, 5, that, and the frames, but the frame slot is 3. If I say the first frame, you have the data units A1, B1 and D1, there is no wastage there. Again, the second frame you have B2, D2 and E2. Okay. Next is spread spectrum. In spread spectrum, we combine signals from different sources to fit into larger bandwidth. Spread spectrum is designed to be used in wireless applications, and these wireless applications are all stations which use air as the medium for communication. When you use this medium, that is stations must be able to share this medium without interception by an eavesdropper or without being subject to jamming from a malicious intruder. Okay, to achieve these goals we use spread spectrum techniques which adds redundancy, that is they spread the original spectrum needed for each station. You are going to spread the original spectrum. Okay, in the diagram, say if B is the bandwidth required to send the original code. After the spreading process, original code is combined with the spreading code to utilize a bandwidth which is greater than the original bandwidth, that is BSS. Okay, and the first line you just read through. If the required bandwidth for each station is B, spread spectrum expands it to BSS, that is the bandwidth spread spectrum, such that BSS is always greater than B. Now there are two techniques to spread the bandwidth. One is frequency hopping spread spectrum, FHSS, and one more is direct sequence spread spectrum, that is DSSS. Okay, now we will see what is frequency hopping spread spectrum. Figure shows general layout for frequency hopping spread spectrum. Here a pseudo random code generator creates a k-bit pattern for every hopping period th. Okay, the frequency table uses the pattern to find the frequency to be used for this hopping period and passes it to the frequency synthesizer there. The frequency synthesizer creates a carrier signal of that frequency, and the source signal modulates the carrier signal. This is just the general layout. Now we will see one example to understand it more clearly. Okay, frequency selection, how to select the frequency. Okay, suppose we have decided to have 8 hopping frequencies as seen in the figure. Okay, the pseudo random code generator will generate 8 different 3-bit patterns. Okay, the patterns given here are 101, 111, 001, 000, 010, 110, 011, and 100. Okay, at hopping period 1, the pattern is 101. The frequency selected from the table is 700 kilohertz. See, in the frequency table there, when you have k bit 101, the frequency is 700 kilohertz. Now the source signal modulates this carrier frequency. Okay, and then it is sent. The second k-bit pattern is 111. Again, you will look for the frequency in the frequency table, where you have what is the frequency for 111. It is 900 kilohertz, and this is sent as a carrier signal. The original signal is modulated to this carrier signal 900 hertz, and again similar way for the third k-bit pattern, that is 001. The frequency is 001. Where is it? Okay, second one in the row. Okay, second one 001. It occupies 3, and that is it selects a 300 kilohertz carrier frequency, which is modulated. Okay, similar way, you have 8 k-bit patterns. After 8 hoppings, again the pattern repeats starting from 101 again. Okay, this shows the repetition, that cycle 1, cycle 2. In cycle 1, see the first hopping period selects 700 hertz, 700 kilohertz, right? Yeah, 700 kilohertz carrier frequency. Second hopping period selects 900, third one 300, fourth one 200, and so on, and the last one, eighth one, selects 600. Again the ninth one, it is repeating, that is it selects 700, that is the first hopping frequency itself, that is 700. Again followed by 900, 300, and so on. The cycle repeats. Okay, next is bandwidth sharing. Okay, figure shows 4 channels using FDM and 4 channels using FHSS, frequency hopping spread spectrum. Okay. In frequency division multiplexing, each station uses 1 by m of the bandwidth, where m is the number of hopping frequencies, but allocation is fixed there. Okay. In frequency hopping spread spectrum, each station uses 1 by m of the bandwidth, but the allocation changes, that is hop to hop. It changes hop to hop. You see to the colors, you can clearly make out. Okay. Next is a second type of spread spectrum, that is a direct sequence spread spectrum. In a direct sequence spread spectrum, we replace each data bit with n bits using a spreading code. Each bit is assigned a code of n bits called the chips, where the chip rate is n times that of the data bit. In the figure, you can see that you have the original signal which is given to the modulator, and the chips generator will generate the chip, that is nothing but the code. Okay. And you are going to modulate it together, that is original signal and the chips together, to obtain the spread signal. Okay. In direct sequence spread spectrum, we replace each data bit with n bits using a spreading code. Okay. Consider the sequence used here in a wireless LAN. It is called the famous Barker sequence, where n is equal to 11 there. Okay. Original signal and the chips in the chip generator use polar NRZ encoding as shown in the figure. If the original signal rate is n, then the rate of the spread signal is 11n. Now see to this figure clearly, where you have original signal 1 0 1. Okay, the digital signal there. Okay, and you have the spreading code which is of 11 bits, which is the spreading code 10110111000. Okay. And followed by the next, you have that is the spread signal. How the spread signal is generated? See, when you have the original signal bit 1, the spreading code will remain as it is, the signal will remain as it is. But when you have the original signal data unit as 0, you are going to inverse it. See, 1 becomes 0, 0 becomes 1. That is the signal you are going to reverse this. Each bit you are going to reverse for the spread signal. Again, the third bit is 1. You will follow the same spreading code. And again, if you get a 0 bit, then you are going to inverse the spreading code. That is what you are going to do in direct sequence spread spectrum. Hope you are clear with these topics, that is bandwidth utilization, multiplexing, and the spread spectrum, and why we are using multiplexing, that is to increase the efficiency, and types of multiplexing, and followed by this one, that is a spread spectrum. Why we are using spread spectrum? Just to, that is in order to increase the security, and for anti-jamming we use this spread spectrum. Okay, thank you.